that doesn't know what Ya'ate means, it means Ya all Ate is. I love that. I just realized that, wow, that's a beautiful way to say hello in a good way. So, everybody, Ya'ate, we all are. Indigenous Ways acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Turtle Island and pays respect to its elders, to the elders of the past and present. We like to take this time to acknowledge traditional owners and ancestors of these lands we reside on here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We are on and surrounded by 19 pueblos. So, wherever you're beaming in from, we would like to acknowledge your traditional owners and ancestors of the lands you reside on so that we could all be here today. Indigenous Ways is dedicated to bridging cultural exchange with people globally. Those of you here this evening on Zoom, thank you very much. And those of you who are coming on social media, another thank you there. So, Mimi Gonzalez is one of my very favorite people on planet Earth, and I'll tell you why. Mimi Gonzalez is funny. She's an action woman, and she lives on the land in the state of Michigan. She's Latina, and she has like a full-time job, and she has a successful career where people are constantly calling her, no different than us, to have her share some of her stories, some of her experiences. And sometimes people just want Mimi to make them laugh, so she gets full comedy acts. And I don't know if any of you know how hard it is to go into that kind of career. Can you imagine being funny and having that expectation? It's just something that Mimi was born with. She's also a very creative person, so she writes poetry and all kinds of other stuff. So this evening we're going to share some time with Mimi, and I'd like to just welcome you, Mimi, to our show, Wisdom Circle. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're so excited to have you. Big light, big light. You have a big light around you. So thank you for everything you do on this walk in life. So before we go into anything, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, who you are, where you come from, that kind of stuff, so we can just kind of get a
Well,
vibe.
I have more than a big light around me. I actually have the northern lights around me, which is what this screensaver is. Uh, it looks kind of like a fancy setup, doesn't it? Believe me, if you were to see out here in my tiny under 700 square foot fieldstone cabin that I live in, and my repurposed chaise lounge that my brother gave me because he's a maintenance guy at an apartment building. So he just picks up stuff people leave. So I've got that. Then I got this big green screen circle attached to the back of that. In front of me, I have a great wooden chair covered in paint chips that was so important. I bring from California. I bought Thule roof racks to drive across country to keep this chair with me. On that is the cheap ottoman that goes with this giveaway chair. And then I have my laptop on top of the ottoman. So it's at the right height and just the right enough that it's almost direct. And my brand new Halo Angel Magic Zoom light, those circles that people. So I'm going to take a picture of the setup afterwards. And I have all kinds of notebooks and poems just strewn around me. I'm not that fancy. I mean, it might seem like, woo, that girl's been in comedy for years. I actually had a high school friend of 40 years at a high school reunion. Oh, what happened? Why did that light go out?
Looks good to me.
Is this all right?
Yeah, it's great.
That's my fancy light. What the hell? I just got it. All right, anyway. Not fair. Chandra, are you able to do weird voices when I start making strange intonations? Like, not fair. Anyway, I'm a distraction to myself. I've just confused myself as to where I am. Uh, as I was saying, this friend from high school, when I told her, they were all like, "Oh, you've been a professional comedian. You've been on TV, and you're a comedian." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not a millionaire or anything. I mean, I've never made 100,000 a year. I've never made 70,000 a year as a comedian." She just walked away. She literally looked at me and walked away. I mean, it was like, wow, that's because we're all in this storyline that, you're nobody unless you're a household name. You're nobody unless you are rich and famous. And that has been a motivating poison that's driven a lot of my life. And I think it's interfered with the grace of the work. I think it's interfered with the actual creativity, to tell you the truth, because I always felt a lot funnier than before I started doing stand-up.
Interesting.
Once it became tied to making money and everything that was funny that somebody laughed at, that you live with comedy notebooks. Here's the bad thing about green screen. It doesn't like you to hold things up. I live with comedy notebooks and journals and joke notebooks and little notebooks and these notebooks. You just write everything down, especially when something impromptu makes somebody laugh. So,
Right.
Before comedy for a living, I was just myself. I wasn't myself observed and calculated and recorded. And that's the strange thing about comedy. Very, very, very few acts are about the audience. Like Paula Poundstone or Jimmy Tingle used to be able to go into a stand-up comedy show and base the entire show on talking to the audience. And what do you do for a living? Oh, you don't remember it. Have a bunch of stock lines, but it was fresh. It's live. They come up with things, but they also have a lot of things in their backpack to be able to pull out. But to get live with an audience, that was always the strangest thing about comedy, is that it's not the art part of comedy is that you can't fully replicate it. You have to trust that comedy is an art, not a science. A science means you can plug into the equation and fit these jokes in. And, I've had sets like that when I was just a road comic for years and years, like, oh, I'm out here building my act tonight. It's just you're just getting through it because you don't feel like really being there. And then there are those moments like Michelle Kwan, the Olympic skater. She never won Olympic gold, but she always went to the Olympics. And in the world skating championships, she won gold, but she never won Olympic gold. And she's a brilliant skater. And she would say, if I knew how to get in the zone, I would. The zone feels like this very magical, extraordinary state of grace that happens when the channel is open and the spirit of creativity is flowing through. I'm sure you, Tosh, and Elena, and as a musician, that there are times when you're making music that something happens and music makes you,
Absolutely.
like it's coming through you, and you can't even own it. You just have to feel like blessed that your mouth is open and able to catch it,
Very interesting. Yeah, I thanks for saying that. That was one of my questions I was going to ask you, is that in the moment synergy that just happens and takes off, where you just feel it. It's just this flow is happening. It's just, you can just feel it. It's like you're almost floating when you're in that creative momentum. Now the challenge is when it becomes a long tour and you're doing show after show after show after show. How do you
Mhm.
hold on to that? Because that's one of my things. After a month on the road, I'm ready to come home.
Yep.
So how do you hold on to that act, to keep that flow happening? What do you do when it's not there and you're in front of a live audience?
Well, if you know you're getting paid, you're going to do the act. You're going to do what you came to do and what that audience showed up for and what you're getting paid to do. So you're just going to do the act. I think that Crescenziano, thank you for the laughing, crying face. Sometimes it's automatic pilot and you're not really in that live, beautiful place of creating. Genuinely in the zone of creation and creativity. So when you're doing it day after day after day, it's your job. It's
Yeah.
not your art, Sometimes art can be the job. It's a really fine balance. Like you just referred to it as floating.
Right.
And I have to tell you, that's always the feeling when you're in that zone. You do feel like you're actually flying. Hello, Tori Trujillo. You know what we're talking about. I don't care about Jerry Seinfeld saying the ultimate test for a comedian is, are they still working, David? I appreciate Seinfeld and all he's done, but let me tell you something. There are some comedians who get to work and work and work who shouldn't be. And then there are other comedians who don't get to work who should be.
Mm.
I have had a life as a brown queer female of paying a lot of dues and still not getting to be a member of the club. It's a fine balance to not be as bitter as I am entitled to be. One comedian said, Hollywood, it's a race to get famous before you get bitter. I lost that one. you know,
A,
you know.
right. Right.
But I have to say that you use this to come back. I got myself distracted and looked at the chat. I'd have to say that you use floating, and in all the years, 25 plus years of doing comedy, I'd have to say that when you're in the zone, it truly feels like flying. And you can't get there alone. I mean, you need the audience, and the audience needs you to have this experience together. It's a really beautiful, mutual, live thing that's happening for both of you. And it doesn't matter if it's an open mic set where things are clicking,
Mm-hmm.
or it's a set where they're paying you $3,000 to $5,000. I've never been paid $5,000, but I have been paid $3,000.
Nice.
There's almost no difference, because I've had terrible $3,000 sets and I've had incredible $200 sets. And I don't know how to tell you the science of replicating it at every set. But I will tell you, after 25 years of comedy, I have a couple of shows that will always stand out for me that just clicked. One was a high-paying leather SM San Francisco gig. I was never an SM aficionado, but I was always like, oh, what are you doing? Like, very interested in what people were doing and writing jokes about it, like the Folsom Street Fair. They have all kinds of workshops, like they want to express their lifestyle to people, so it's understood. Like they had one workshop where you could tie your lover up in macrame knots just so it was accessible, or they had a like aging for the SM community. You can actually shift who's your daddy to who's your grandpa. It's okay. They even had like a this cross situation, or, somebody was getting a flogging. Who's your savior? Wow, Jesus is a top. Who would have known that? But I mean, you have to be willing to just make fun of everything and go everywhere. And
Right.
I just had this great set with those folks. I can remember the room right now and where it was in San Francisco. And this was 25 years ago. And we just felt each other. The audience and I felt each other. And it was beautiful. We were all flying. And at the end of the set, they flew out of their seats and gave me a standing ovation. That is flying. I can tell you about a set where I made $125 as the feature, not the MC and not the closer, but as the middle act, the feature. And it was at Joey's in Livonia. And I mean, you have to say yes to every gig, so you're working, right? And you're working at your craft. And I locked into this audience, and they were with me 100%. Everybody in that room was with me. And I was coming around to the closing to some of the super A material, your best stuff that you want to get them. And I'll tell you what, people were laughing so hard, they were coughing. My heart was pumping so much at this point in the set that I was almost at the edge of the stage. I needed a breath. The audience needed a breath. I consciously stepped back from the edge of the stage and gave us all a chance to catch our breath. Like, I will never forget what that feeling was. That is golden zone. And see, who cares? It was 3,125. It was still being in that live experience for them and for me. And
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was really, really, it really is flying. It's flight. You are elevated and they're with you. It's not like you're above them. We're all going in this air together.
That brings me to another couple of questions. So, the first thing that I wanted to ask you following this is when you have a full-time career and you have people constantly asking you to do, well, through COVID, online Zoom shows, and when you're not when we're not in COVID, you're doing these tours and going to these different events and holding a job. Every time you go, you get invited back to the same audience over and over again, and have to constantly make new material. For a musician, it's you got the songs that everybody wants to hear. Beautiful Spirit, Powerful Woman. So that takes up two songs of a 45-minute set. But they also want to hear new material too, and very few cover tunes. For real, concerts. When I go to a concert, I don't want to hear a band doing a full set of cover tunes. I'll go to somewhere else for that. How do you keep that momentum going with a full-time job and keeping the creativity happening? Is it challenging, or do you just keep a notebook on you or a little quick voice on your phone and just keep everything as the day goes? You're at work and something funny happens, you write it down, you say, oh, I'm going to work on this one, I'm going to build on it. How do you do that? There's got to be some kind of almost a science to that for you.
Well, you're saying that as if I'm succeeding at that. I mean, you're assuming that.
No, not really. Because succeeding, you're just in it. You're in the momentum. There's a temporal momentum. It's not stopping. You're not just like saying, okay, I'm stopping. I'm going to rest on my laurels and just go to work and come home. The heck with it. You're still engaged. You're still in the momentum, whether you're in a coffee house or whatever, wherever. It doesn't matter about success. It's just the temporal momentum of the creative process. And comedy's hard.
Comedy is very hard. And so is songwriting, and so is poetry, and so is sculpting, and so is painting, and so is singing and making sure your voice is still working. None of this stuff is easy. None of it. And I'm in a particular quandary creatively. the nature of my full-time job has changed. The colleague that I worked with who actually brought me in for my first day job in 25 years is no longer there.
Mm.
And he was a particularly fine, beautiful, spiritual, visionary, brilliant leader. It was very easy to work to support his vision of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And now the person who is the interim supervisor is only interested in that, being a boss and a supervisor, like not a leader. And I'm not thriving under that. I am chafing, and it's really brought me to my spiritual knees, honestly, to tell you the truth, because I believe, well, if I really do trust spirit, my being doesn't want to be in this situation. I feel like this is where real selling out feels, what it almost feels like I'm really selling out to stay at the day job. It's really costing me, everybody around me, my mother, my brothers, like work comes first. Yes, I understand. I have a Capricorn moon. I get it. Work and knowing where the bill money is coming from is important. I'm never going to get it from somebody else. I'm not going to be some kept woman, or I can't. Like, that's not how life works.
Right.
And life really showed me something 2 years ago when I had this accident. I was showered with love and support. The universe just came right in and said, you are alive. You are not paralyzed. You are temporarily disabled. So you get to understand what it is to be disabled, and to have people look at you in your walker and look away and understand that invisibilizing of being disabled, people just look away. They don't want to see you. You remind them of danger, accident, dependency. I went through a lot, and I have to tell you, I just was showered a GoFundMe that raised so much money that allowed me to heal. Wow. I asked people to send me acts of beauty in the mail. I received what the word abundance is. I was provided for. My hands were open in this, sometimes you see Muslim prayer is not to pray like this, but to pray with your hands open to receive. It's just so beautiful. And my hands were filled, my arms were filled,
right on,
with love, with support, with attention that people I didn't even know were like, oh my gosh, here you go. Like
beautiful.
So I do know that I have, like, the universe has proven to me, you will be taken care of. And now I kind of feel like, well, maybe I should quit the job.
Right. That's
an
interesting one.
And do comedy. I mean, I'm really in this quandary because I was doing very good work. And now I'm still doing good work, but I just feel like maybe I'm doing it for the wrong organization. Maybe I just have to move to a different day job or something.
Maybe not. Well, you know what? That makes me think about poetry. And I wrote a poem years and years ago that I turned into a song called Juxtaposition. I was young in college, and I learned the word and what it means. So I decided to write a song called Juxtaposition. And one of the lines in that song was suffering wisdom for wanting more. And then I went into the collective of the more and what that looks like, or looked like in my world when I was, I don't know, early 20s. But that made me think of that. And we'd love to hear a poem of yours or two. Can you read us two of your poems?
As a matter of fact, I might even read you 3. 1, 2, 3.
We do want some funnies too. So
All right. Yes, ma'am. I think I've been a little, I've been a little bit funny along the way. But I did have a girlfriend tell me, you're kind of sincere. You're a little too sincere to be a comedian. Yeah, said her smarty pants. I'm going to surprise you. Crescendiando. I promise this doesn't have anything too elaborate. But I also promise you haven't heard this one yet either. Just keep you all guessing. Okay. Why you can't teach writing. Have you ever seen a butterfly exhibit where the different species are pinned to a board? Someone had to kill them to do that. Someone had to catch them to kill them. Someone caught the butterfly, pinned it to a page, then described its taxonomy and colors and behavior. Because they were killed and mounted, they can be studied like volumes and libraries full of poetry. Butterflies move in the most hysterical sense of the word, flying. This is what other butterfly catchers are trying to teach. A professor is hoping you catch a species never before seen, one that looks strangely just like you. What every one of them is hoping is that you don't kill the butterfly while you study it. Can you catch it and release it? Here's a secret. Sit and wait for it to land. Observe it. Catch it with words and ink. Some days you'll create the perfect condition and butterflies will be everywhere. The season will be right. The flowers will be blooming. Everything will be moving. Stop and blend in with the air. You can remember how to do this. You are a breathing thing. Become a part of the scenery, the corner of a yard, nature trail, parking lot. Watch the air fill with moving things, gnats spiraling like corks. Or is it the other way around? Birds making darts of their bodies. Other gliders watching from their mile-high view. Your pen is a proboscis, butterfly tongue. Your pen is a proboscis ready to tattoo the skin of the world to you. Pupa, you're dreaming something you can't even imagine. All your legs leave, but 6. You'll forget about the 10 missing legs when you realize your back now bears wings. Why you can't teach writing.
wow.
Surprise.
Wow, I love it. That is so beautiful. Do you do any writing workshops, or have you been thinking about maybe pursuing that with all this new technology we have online and social media? Because, boy, if you taught something, I would join. And if
I'm
you
glad
charged, I
you
would
asked
pay.
me. I am glad you asked me that.
Thank you.
So spiritually significant and psychically timed sister. I do teach writing workshops. At almost every comedy show I've done for the last 10 years, I always try to volunteer a writing workshop because I do believe in something called the writing cure. I
Right
believe
on.
if you've got an ailment, you are the only one who can write the correct prescription because it's your ailment. You can find the prescription. I think you can write it. And if we stop time and write together, I love generative writing workshops where people sit and write together with prompts. There is a tree in Central America that is poisonous, but very close to that tree is the antidote. Like they're completely balanced. So I believe that we have this in us, and I love to bring people to that. And this other business entrepreneurial idea or something, I'm getting very close to that. Is it time to leave the day job? Maybe. Here's the business. It's called Right Here. You see that?
Yes.
Granite ear with a gold pen behind it?
Wow. Yes.
Right Here writing workshops. And I've even ordered the journal. Mary Giordano, listen to the, oh, look at that, because it's green, it's picking up the thing. I can't see it. How about if I hold it here?
Okay.
It's a green, oh, it's careful because it's a green screen. It's kind of leathery with gold, and it's got that little right here ear on it, which you, look at that. Oh, whoa!
Oh man, that is so cool.
Yeah,
Well,
I really would like to start writing workshops, and what I would honestly love to do is a variation of my road comedy work. I would like to go to people's homes, and I've got an email list of over 200 people whose emails I've harvested from writing workshops, and I would like to go regionally and seed writing workshops in people's homes, and then teach people how to facilitate for each other. And then they have monthly or even weekly writing workshops. It's like the old consciousness raising workshops of the 70s, you know, that women, emerging feminists and women's liberation had consciousness raising workshops in the living rooms. Well, now how about writing workshops? And it's a great way to create community. People come together and they create together and they listen to each other and then they heal each other. And then I come back once or twice a year and produce a show where everybody and their friends and neighbors and family get to hear what they've written. I am, to answer your question, thinking about writing workshops.
great. I got two questions back to back.
Boom, boom.
First one, where can we find that information to join? And I had a brother that came on, Albert Chase, and talked about his life story, which was fascinating. Traditional Navajo man. And he took this pandemic to another level and is doing teaching Navajo on Facebook. And what he does is he's got a whole curriculum put together, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and he charges, I think, $8 a session. And he's got so many people wanting to relearn the Navajo language. And he's just like, it's a successful endeavor for him. And with this pandemic, he's able to support himself and his family with it. So that just a food for thought. Second question, how can we help you make this happen? Contact us. Anything we can do for you, we would love to be, for me, I'd like to be a recipient of your teaching because I love your energy.
Okay, I'm just going to commit to it right now. The first 10 workshops I do when I fully launch Right Here, one of them is in Santa Fe with Indigenous Wisdom.
All right.
Yes, absolutely. Totally. You've heard it here first. I commit to that.
We'll set it up.
Oh, beautiful. That is really that. Thank you so much. This is
That's what
part of the.
Indigenous Ways is all about.
Mm.
Supporting the artists, bridging cultures globally. So thank you. We would be so honored.
I'm so old, I get AARP. And let's face it, at my age, you don't have to be that old to get AARP.
You're
Oh,
young.
oh, yeah, sure.
Young.
Um,
Age is just a number, you know that.
yeah, it's a state of being. And well, it's also your lower back when you can't do what you used to do for as long as you could. Uh, but I'm bringing up AARP because Margaret Atwood, an incredible author, just an extraordinary poet, as well as novelist, Canadian Margaret Atwood, just totally, she actually is one of the mothers of birthing literature and a return for Canadians to stay in Canada, for Canadian authors to stay in Canada. She is one of the literary forces that has brought honor to staying in Canada. And Margaret Atwood said, "Hey, look what I did. Oh my goodness. I got a little creativity book over here that, green screen doesn't like. It's a black book. Why can't you see it?" Anyway, I don't know why you can't see it, but I did put the Margaret Atwood quote right in here so I can read it to you. I wish I could show it to you, but I almost don't trust that it's going to show you that. I'll hold it really close to me. No, nothing.
Give it up. Give it up.
All right. It's Margaret Atwood. And you know what she says?
What?
Everybody has creativity. It's a human thing.
Creation. That's exactly right, Mimi. That's creation. So as we're speaking about creation, can we get one more of your poems, please?
Really?
I'd love to hear more. Yes, I want to hear more. You're brilliant. We love you, Mimi. We really, really do.
Nervous. All right, I'm going to do I'll do the longer one, which has which I agree, Crescenciano, permiso, porque yo tomo un clase en español este semestre, 101 y tratando. Crescenciano. I don't even know if you speak Spanish. I'm just assuming.
You've got Chandra on now.
Chandra.
You got Chandra.
Chandra. Permiso. Okay. Excuse me. I'm trying to pronounce. They're calling him Cress.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say it right. Okay. This is the one called Poem for a Look Across Horrocks. At the former farm stand turned upscale grocer, among busy bodies, we both maneuvered. You with a basket, 4 citrus bins away, me behind a cart among the eaves. Our eyes met across the ready fruit, Fuji, gold and green. Each of us wearing the fine clothes of self-delivered middle age will to feed ourselves the good organics. Because we both looked, we saw ourselves 30 years earlier, when gazes shared would have held long enough to pull triggers, we'd laugh and prove all night what great shots and trick riders we were. Proud chests, heavy medals, full virginity heroics, atmospheres queered to paisley, fields ridden fallow. Scorched, our eyes cast off toward the roots, crates of turnip, beet, and yam. It takes warriors of a certain cut, ours, to heft the sword of a glance, sending fear to cower corners. Before we both remember, fallen favors ignite a singe we dare not blister. Then duck for cover in the look away aisles of bulk dried grains.
Wow. Wow. All right, everybody. Take that in. Let's absorb that before we go on to our final question for the evening. Thank you, Mimi.
I'm going to tell you
I
something.
loved your cadence. There was a beautiful prosody. And Chandra and Cress both made it so musical that I felt like I was at an orchestra. Beautiful, beautiful. Prosody is such an important word with poetry, with interpreting, with music, even the rhythm of speech. Prosody.
Tell people that
Prosody, prosody, the rhythm, the beat. So the last question we're going to ask you for the night, because I wanted you to do a comedy act for us, but we're out of time. So in this time, what is thriving in purpose for Mimi Gonzalez? What does it mean to you in this time, now that we're starting to see the sunlight of the spirit and emerging from a very, very dark, dark time? The past year has had us all meet ourselves in new ways that perhaps we've never met ourselves before, being isolated and having to figure out new ways to do our crafts and get our work out there, especially performers, musicians, poets, people that rely on being on the stage. Can you talk to us about that? Your thriving in purpose?
I have to say, Tosh and Elena, the purpose of connecting and connecting each other through wisdom, that your platform is being used to facilitate that makes performers and that makes everybody gathered thrive. I'm really getting, I think your whole life, you spend your whole life in some kind of therapy with yourself, trying to love yourself and forgive and feel this kind of worthiness. So I'm really still getting the lesson that I've got to feel self-love first. I've got to put the mask on first. The oxygen mask has to go on myself first, and I've got to feel this love first. And the love I feel is coming from listening to creativity. Sometimes it's writing a joke. Yes, I've written pandemic jokes. I mean, I live in Michigan. We were one of the first places to sell out of toilet paper. And that was followed by the people storming our Capitol. So does that not tell you why we sold out of toilet paper? We have a state full of assholes. So I'm trying to find humor in it, but I'm also maybe Pisces or completely human, that I have this poetic self too. So how I thrive is to chase that creative light.
Yes.
That's what thriving is. I mean, the Lansing Poetry Club, Lansing, Michigan. Lansing's one of the more boring state capitals in the country. They have a poet laureate. They have a poetry club. They conduct these online teaching workshops. I mean, there is a silver lining. There are several to this pandemic.
Right.
We are connecting with each other around the world through this thing. It gets exhausting being on Zoom. It does get tiring, but then you're in the room and you're ignited by other people's presence. I mean, look at Chandra's movement. She's the play. She's the
words
part of this.
Priceless.
It's incredible. I want to communicate with the chat too, but I'm trying to stay present in the. I see you, Chris. Chris, not Chris. So I'm feeling the thriving by using this. I really do see the extraordinary silver lining in this pandemic time. You know, things shut down. People got quiet. We returned to ourselves.
Thank you.
The birds came out. People see mountains they have not seen. The canals in Venice are clear, got clear. I mean, we did have a moment to say, hey, we can change what we have done. And up in the sky in June was a comet that comes every 7,000 years that we didn't know about, that we don't have recorded in our human history. And they named the comet after the telescope that found it. And that telescope was called NEO-WISE. That comet, I saw it. I live out in the country and I saw it. Did you see that comet?
I remember. It was amazing.
A long tail, a heavenly body. It was there. It was there and it was telling us something. NEO-WISE, new wisdom. Use this. Use this. Indigenous ways, bringing us wisdom to each other. This is helping me thrive. It doesn't have anything to do with money. It has really to do with this great wealth of connecting to each other and not feeling alone.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful, Mimi. So before I bring Elena on, I just want to say that we have some wonderful presenters, and I'm going to go into the Southern Pacific and start bringing some Aboriginal and Kiwi people in. So look forward to that, going to that part of the world. So I want to pass it over to Elena.
Great.
Elena.
Thanks for that. Mimi, thank you so much for blessing us with that incredible wisdom and stories. Really appreciate that. Just before we bring everyone through Zoom into this sacred circle, we just want to tell you what's happening. Next week, we've got the beautiful elder from the Navajo Nation, Black Mountain, where we were just at, Jane Ballou. She's going to be sharing her wisdom through the circle, same time, same channel, same place. So please be sure to check out this incredible elder's wisdom as we have tonight with the beautiful Mimi Gonzalez. Mimi's going to be available in our website, that is IndigenousWays.org, with the over other 80 presenters who are there. Mimi's archive will be there in the next 48 hours. So please share this link with all your friends through the social media. We will really appreciate that. And if you go to the website, IndigenousWays.org, you can also sign up to our news letter that we send out weekly of who's been on, what's happening, what we're up to. So please support us in that. And, you know, as Mimi was sharing, we started the Wisdom Circle, the virtual events, which is every Wednesday, the Wisdom Circle, the third Saturday of the month. We had the beautiful last week, Tori Trujillo, who's also in with us tonight, who blessed us. We've had so many people emailing us and texting and talking to us with her sound healing that really touched people deeply. We started this on the 1st of April 2020, and that was to keep everyone connected. We've been very blessed to support over 80 presenters through this platform, predominantly our Native American, Indigenous, LGBTQIA2+, deaf and hard of hearing presenters, artists, musicians through this platform. This has been possible because of each and every one of you just coming, sharing the links, sharing all this incredible wisdom like what Mimi has done for us tonight. So thank you. If you're here with us live at this moment, thank you so much for blessing us. If you're watching the recordings, thank you so much for blessing us and sharing this. Also below, you'll see all our social media links. Please be sure to subscribe, like any of those links. If you're on one of them at the moment, please like the link. That helps us out. And from the get-go, all of these events have been free. All of these events have had ASL interpreters, and that's so we can make this access available for everyone. We've had oodles of sponsors throughout this time, and right now we want to acknowledge the Native American Advise Fund, the Santa Fe Community Foundation, West Staff, and New Mexico Arts. We also want to give a huge shout out to our Indigenous Ways board, who have been very supportive, and also the incredible individual donors that keep us here to keep these circles and these concert series happening so we can stay connected. A lot of you know that last week we went and did 2 relief runs, one to Shiprock for the deaf and hard of hearing. We were able to distribute 50 boxes that went out to the community. It started with a blessing from James Woodenlegs, who is Northern Cheyenne, giving a blessing. And it was so wonderful to see so many people from the deaf and hard of community who were out there. And just so many things happened. It was such a great gift. Then we went up to Lukachukai, dropped off firewood for our wonderful elder, who's also in the circle tonight, Aletta Toland and her friend Rodney, being able to support them that way. And then the next day we went up to Black Mountain. This was our 9th run up there, supporting the elders and also the community of just over 200 people up there. We set up a distribution line, and cars came through to receive lots of water and also the food boxes. You know, this was incredible because on Wednesday we had over 25 people come into the front yard to box this. So, you know, Mimi was talking about community, how central community is. The only reason why we are here in this platform is because of you. And the only reason that we've been doing these relief runs is because of you. And to say thank you is just a small part. You know, Mimi mentioned the extraordinary love and support that she received from the community in a journey that she was doing from her accident. That's how we got to know you, Mimi, from all the posts on social media. Then we met you, I think it was at the
Michigan.
At some festival, we met you in person. But we knew of you because of the outpouring of love from the community, wanting you to do well. And that's the only way that we've been able to do these relief runs. 9 of them, we've been able to raise over $75,000 because of you and the outpouring and the incredible support from the community. So thank you for making that all possible. The last thing that I want to say, another reason for us being up there is getting water to Oak Ridge. This is where Tasha and her sister Michelle, and also Harry and Kathy, Tasha's
Hi, Mom and Harry,
who are on the line. There's no water up there, and so one of the things that we've wanted to do is look at long-term water sustainability. So we had a meeting after the food distribution to see where the community were at, what can we do to help you. We're going to enjoy telling you more about that as time goes by, of how we can assist this incredible water community of getting long-term sustainable drinking water to each of the families up there. So it's that incredible time. If you are in Zoom, this is the time where you get to come and share or say hi to Mimi or give some beautiful words. If you're in our social media, any of the pages, just drop a text. While people are finding out where their cameras are, I just want to say to Eve Wiggins, who's in social media. Eve was one of our presenters last month. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. She says, thanks for sharing your story. Absolutely awesome. Okay, now in saying that, while people are coming on, who wants to kick us off? Just unmute and
Tori and Storm. Let's hear from Tori and Storm.
Hi, Mimi, and again, and so happy to see you here. There you are in my home state, telling me about Horrocks, which I know everything about. Livonia, who knows these names but a Michigander? And there you are, helping where. So happy to see you, and thank you for your stories and your poetry, so beautiful and powerful. All of that creativity woven in together as medicine.
So,
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here and just showing up and holding.
all right. Thank you very much.
Is that you, Stormy? Oh, I couldn't hear.
That's me. Thank you so much. It was beautiful. Thank you. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing. I can't wait to see you again.
I love you.
Miss you.
Back in Michigan somewhere, I got like 4 gigs in August.
Right on.
You know, August.
Okay, let's go around and would Yvonne, would you like to say something?
Yvonne, you need to unmute, gorgeous one.
All righty then. I love Mimi. We've known each other over 30 years, and I just loved hearing the poetry today. I haven't heard much, so I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more.
Look at that beautiful
Thank you so
face.
much, Yvonne.
Look at my friend Yvonne.
All right, David Gomez. Let's go down to David Gomez. Would you like to say a word?
Look at that gorgeous face. Let's hear David's face.
David, you'll need to unmute. There you go.
So much for communication, huh? But it's in the chat. But what I said in the chat was that what I really like about humor is that it is a very powerful way to communicate with people, because if you can make somebody laugh, you have touched something very deep within them, and then from that you can create a bond. There was a guy I worked with at a newspaper many years ago who I just couldn't crack the guy. I couldn't figure out what he was about. So I decided that it was going to be my job to find out what made the guy laugh. And as time went on, I found out that he had a very dry, conspiratorial sense of humor that you would not know. So once I found out what that was, I went in there, made the guy laugh, and then we were able to work together and be friends for the rest of the time I was at the paper. So, you know, it is a powerful tool for communication.
Thank you for that, Dave. You're absolutely right, because it is touching something in someone. And when you can touch that, you're right. You connected. You're able to connect. Thank you.
Thank you for that, David. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to give the last word to our sister, Sarah Youngbear Brown from, was it Iowa? Iowa, right? Sarah, do you want to say something?
This is Sarah speaking. Yes, I am out of Iowa. Mimi, let me just say thank you so much for your amazing presentation tonight. Your poetry was beautiful. It was so nice to have that heartfelt connection. I feel so enriched by you. And I've just had a fantastic night. I hope you also have a happy night. And I also want to share some news with folks. Next week, I will be in the DC area to walk with the Indigenous siblings from North No Dapple and Line K. And so I'll be seeing those amazing faces in DC next week as water right protectors. So cheer me on, folks.
On Sarah Youngbear Brown, sister, you rock it. All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. If somebody's got a burning desire, go for it, Michelle Mormel.
I just threw it in the. I did a writing workshop with Mimi at the Family Reunion 2019. She brought us all this big stack of books. Everybody take a book. Everybody take a book. And we were all out there on the grass writing. It was wonderful. Thank you.
You're
All right,
awesome,
everybody.
Michelle. Thank you. Can I say one thing? Can I say one final thing?
Absolutely.
Go
I'll
for it.
make it really quick. Besides, thank you, and I love you so much, and I cannot wait to make one of the top 10 in Santa Fe with you all, or wherever you want it.
Yes.
Tent rocks, I don't care. Let's do it. But I want to say, is there, instead of putting a PayPal up for me, could I ask that any donations that come today go to Indigenous Ways, not me?
Oh,
Make
thank
that
you.
request that, sometimes these performances, people are like, hey, here's your tip jar. I don't want any tips from this today.
You're beautiful.
I
We
want it
are
to go
accepted.
to Indigenous Ways.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
Hey,
When
just
the
remember-
universe offers, we accept.
So-
And you are the universe.
Just remember to check out mimigonzalez.com. Look out for those workshops, writing workshops that she's going to be doing. Also, we're holding her to that in Santa Fe and having a huge big do here. So love to see you all. Holding prayers for Sarah Youngbear, and thank you for the water protection. Thank you, all of you, for being in here.
And everybody on Zoom, social media, live, and those watching the recording, thank you for joining us. And those in the future that haven't seen this yet, that will be going to our website, thank you. Always, our ASL interpreters are our heart, our soul, our way to communicate, and the beauty. Much love to you, Chandra and Cress. We'll see you all Wednesday next week to see our elder, Jane Ballou, March 31st. And let's just tell everybody, we love you. Missy, we love you. Arletta in Arizona, we love you. Luca Chukai, Annette, we love you. Everybody, we can't even tell you how much we love you, because that's how much we love you. Let's give it up for Mimi Gonzalez. Woo! We're going to have you back again, sister. We're going to bring you back.
We love you, Mimi.
We're going to bring you back, Mimi.
All right, everyone, make truffle this week. Love you.